Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Today I'm walking you through a week in the life of my garden. This footage is from a few weeks ago, but I'm finally now getting it out to you. We're starting with pest management. At the beginning of each week, I peruse every squash plant, of which I have 4, for signs of insect damage and harmful insects. This means not just looking at the tops of the leaves, but also the stems and undersides of the leaves. I've been dealing with squash bugs the most this season, so I'll begin with hunting their eggs on the back of every squash leaf. The eggs I'm looking for are a dark bronze or metallic burgundy color. They're laid in clusters of 10 to 20 eggs, usually along the veins on the back of one of the leaves. However, you'll also see me remove a cluster of eggs from the stem of a leaf, so just know that they're not limited to only the undersides of leaves. And they're also not limited to only squash plant leaves. I found them on my tomato leaves and on even some basil. Unfortunately, these oval yellow eggs, though they look identical to ladybug eggs, are not in fact ladybug eggs. They're Mexican bean beetle eggs, which is a pest that you want to get rid of. Be careful when considering removing them, since ladybugs are beneficial for your garden. You can totally decide to let them stick around until they hatch, because you can tell the difference between bean beetles and ladybugs at the larva stage. To remove these eggs, I like to take a wet spoon and scoop them off of the leaf. Although sometimes they're really sandwiched between the veins and you just have to get in there with your fingers. Once I've removed the eggs, I'll drop them in a cup of soapy water, which I always take to the garden with me. I also use this cup of soapy water when removing squash bugs and other harmful insects. I just pluck them from the plant and dump them in the soapy water. Make sure that your spoon is wet, because as you scoop up these eggs, they may kind of flick off the leaf, but if your spoon is wet, it will catch the eggs. Hunting for these harmful insects and their eggs is an activity that you can definitely involve your children in. Not only may your children notice something that you miss, since they're at a different vantage point than you, but they get to learn more about the little ecosystem you're cultivating in the garden and how to care for it themselves. My kids love getting to help in the garden. This next clip, I planted potatoes for a fall harvest. Now, this was our first time planting potatoes, and we planted 49 seed potatoes. Who knows how many we'll harvest? We had 25 Purple Majesty potatoes, and the remainder were split between Yukon Gold and a red variety. We have 3 rows of potatoes. Each row is 2 feet apart, and the potatoes in each row are 12 inches apart. We dug about 6-inch holes, then placed the seed potato into the depression so that the eyes were facing up, and then covered the potato with the remaining soil. Here's a clip of what our potatoes look like now. We had a 100% success rate for each seed potato to sprout a plant. I'm so excited about these potatoes. Leave below a few of the crops you're most excited to harvest from your garden. Here we have a few small, random tasks that vary week to week. This week, I planted tomato clones I had rooted from suckers off of my original tomato plants. I'm hoping to get a kind of succession harvest with these. Next, you'll see me fertilizing the garden with some diluted whey from homemade mozzarella. I'll also use leftover water from boiling corn on the cob and other random bits and bobs like that. Finally, we are tackling the jungle of this fenced-in garden space. We have a few lettuces growing under this cattle panel arch, and I really needed to free them from the weeds. We used aged cow manure to amend our soil at the beginning of the season, so we've got quite a few new weeds from those beloved animals. One that's really been giving us a hard time is called thorny amaranth. This weed shown here will develop a thorn at each juncture of branch and stem, so if you go barefoot in the garden, it's quite painful. Pulling it is painful, even with gloves, because the thorns are so fine as to prick right through the glove. Pretty much, I just take a spade to unearth the roots and pull it out by gripping the roots. Here is a quick before and after so that you don't have to watch me pulling weeds any longer. Did you even notice the pepper plants among those weeds in front of the raised beds? It looks so much better in here, and the garden is much more of a joy to be in. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.